Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today for our chapter book story time here at the Caribou Public Library. I'm Miss Erin, and we are going to be continuing to read Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And we're on the second half of chapter 14. If you'll remember from last time, Joe and Laurie had just run down a big hill and were finished running, and Laurie was getting ready to leave. Okay, so here we are for today. Laurie leisurely departed to recover the lost property, and Joe bundled up her braids, hoping no one would pass by until she was tidy again. But someone did pass, and who should it be but Meg, looking particularly ladylike in her state and festival suit, for she had been making calls. "What in the world are you doing here?" she asked, regarding her disheveled sister in well-bred surprise. "Getting leaves," meekly answered Joe, sorting the rosy handful she had just swept up. "And hairpins," added Laurie, throwing half a dozen into Joe's lap. "They grow on this road, Meg. So do combs and brown straw hats." "You have been running, Joe. How could you? When will you stop such romping ways?" said Meg reprovingly, as she settled her cuffs and smoothed her hair, with which the wind had taken liberties. "Never until I'm stiff and old and have to use a crutch. Don't try to make me grow up before my time, Meg. It's hard enough to have you change all of a sudden. Let me be a little girl as long as I can." As she spoke, Joe bent over her work to hide the trembling of her lips, for lately she had felt that Margaret was fast getting to be a woman, and Laurie's secret made her dread the separation which must surely come some time, and now seemed very near. He saw the trouble in her face and drew Meg's attention from it by asking, quickly, "Where have you been calling all so fine?" "At the gardener's, and Sally has been telling me about Belle Moffat's wedding. It was very splendid, and they have gone to spend the winter in Paris. Just to think how delightful that must be." "Do you envy her, Meg?" asked Laurie. "I'm afraid I do." "I'm glad of it," muttered Joe, tying on her hat with a jerk. "Why?" asked Meg, looking surprised. "Because if you care much about riches, you will never go and marry a poor man," said Joe, frowning at Laurie, who was mutely warning her to mind what she said. "I shall never go and marry anyone," observed Meg, walking on with great dignity, while the others followed, laughing and whispering, skipping stones and behaving like children, as Meg said to herself, though she might have been tempted to join them if she had not had her best dress on. For a week or two, Joe behaved so strangely that her sisters got quite bewildered. She rushed to the door when the postman rang, was rude to Mr. Brooke whenever they met, would sit looking at Meg with a woe-begone face, occasionally jumping to the shake, and then to kiss her in very mysterious manner. Laurie and she were always making signs to one another and talking about spread eagles until the girl declared they had both lost their wits. On the second Saturday, after Joe got out of the window, Meg, as she sat sewing at her window, was scandalized by the sight of Laurie chasing Joe all over the garden, and finally capturing her in Amy's bower. What went on there Meg could not see, but shrieks of laughter were heard, followed by a murmur of voices and a great flapping of newspapers. "What shall we do with that girl? She never will behave like a young lady," sighed Meg, as she watched the race with a disapproving face. "I hope she won't. She's so funny and dear as she is," said Beth, who had never betrayed that she was a little hurt at Joe's having secrets with anyone but her. "It's very trying, but we never can make her comme il faut," added Amy, who sat making some new frills for herself, with her curls tied up in a very becoming way. Two agreeable things, which made her feel unusually elegant and ladylike. In a few minutes, Joe bounced in, laid herself on the sofa, and affected to read. "Have you anything interesting there?" asked Meg with condescension. "Nothing but a story. Don't amount to much, I guess," returned Joe, carefully keeping the name of the paper out of sight. "You'd better read it out loud. That will amuse us and keep you out of mischief," said Amy, in her most grown-up tone. "What's the name?" asked Beth, wondering why Joe kept her face behind the sheet. "The Rival Painters." "That sounds well. Read it," said Meg. With a loud and a long breath, Joe began to read very fast. The girls listened with interest, for the tale was romantic and somewhat pathetic, as most of the characters died in the end. "I like that about the splendid picture," was Amy's approving remark as Joe paused. "I prefer the lovering part. Viola and Angelo are two of our favorite names. Isn't that strange?" said Meg, wiping her eyes, for the lovering part was tragical. "Who wrote it?" asked Beth, who had caught a glimpse of Joe's face. The reader suddenly sat up, cast away the paper, displayed a flushed countenance, and, with a funny mixture of solemnity and excitement, replied with a loud voice, "Your sister." "You?" cried Meg, dropping her work. "It is very good," said Amy critically. "I knew it! I knew it! Oh, my Joe, I am so proud!" And Beth ran to hug her sister and exult over this splendid success. Dear me, how delighted they all were, to be sure. How Meg wouldn't believe it until she saw the words, "Miss Josephine March," actually printed in the paper. How graciously Amy criticized the artistic parts of the story and offered hints for a sequel, which unfortunately couldn't be carried out, as the hero and heroine were dead. How Beth got excited and skipped and sung with joy, and how Hannah came in to exclaim, "Sakes alive! Well, I never!" in great astonishment at that Joe's doin's. How proud Mrs. March was when she knew it. How Joe laughed with tears in her eyes as she declared that she might as well be a peacock and done with it, and how the spread eagle might be said to flap his wings triumphantly over the house of March as the paper passed from hand to hand. "Tell us about it. When did it come? How much did you get for it? What will Father say? Won't Laurie laugh?" cried the family, all in one breath, as they clustered about Joe, for these foolish, affectionate people made a jubilee of every little household joy. "Stop jabbering, girls, and I'll tell you everything," said Joe, wondering if Miss Burney felt any grander over her Evelina than she did over her rival painters. Having told how she disposed of her tales, Joe added, "And when I went to get my answer, the man said he liked them both, but didn't pay beginners, only let them print in his paper, and notice the stories. It was good practice, he said, and when the beginners improved, anyone would pay. So I let him have the 2 stories, and today this was sent to me, and Laurie caught me with it, and insisted on seeing it. So I let him, and he said it was good. I should write some more. He's going to get the next paid for. And oh, I am so happy, for in time I may be able to support myself and help the girls." Joe's breath gave out here, and wrapping her head in the paper, she bedewed her little story with a few natural tears, for to be independent and earn the praise of those she loved were the dearest wishes of her heart, and this seemed to be the first step toward that happy end. Now that is the end of chapter 14. So, bye for now. We'll see you next time.